Hey, everybody, welcome to Real Estate Speed School. I have my good friend here, all the way from Hampton Roads, Virginia, Lonnie Bush, joining us today. And we are going to dig into, well, handling objections, pitfalls, issues, different best practices, and get you guys set up and ready to go. So stay tuned. You're joining us right here on Real Estate Speed School. All right, my man. Well, let's dive in here. One of the things, one of the topics is that everybody's dealing with this right now, right?
Yeah,
In a hot market, real estate has become a commodity, right?
yeah.
And boy, the objections are flying off the handle. So, what I know you got a big team, been in real estate many years, just like myself. So, what are some of the number one things you're seeing? Maybe some obstacles the agents are having, or maybe even the type of objections that they're getting right now.
Well, I think I would let me back up real quick and just
Yeah.
talk to you a little bit about for me. One of the things that I noticed, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, is that I don't think agents really understand how important objection handling, scripts, role play, all those things are because and I'm not I'm sure probably with you as well, but when I started in the industry, I was given some CD cassette or cassette tapes,
Yes.
some
Yes.
VCR tapes of Mike Ferry
Yeah.
scripts, and I was taught that was how you sell real estate, right?
Right.
I got on the phone, I did expires, I cold called, I called from the white pages, I got hung up on 100 times to get one opportunity, possible opportunity. So we're in a whole now. Now, fast forward to today, they've changed a little bit because now
Yeah.
it's more in those scripts. You also have to create. You have a short time frame to create a relationship, right?
Yes.
It's like and a relationship to where there's trust, right? You have to,
Hmm.
so we tell our agents all the time, you've got to be able to, get that person on the other end of the phone to trust you, right? And
Yep.
it's so hard. You and I both know this because everybody is dealing with 50 million people calling them for everything, right? Or
Yeah.
texting them and offering them and emailing them and this, that, and the other. So it's so hard. And for me, what we've tried to tell our agents is it's not as hard as we think it is if we just be ourselves,
Yep.
listen, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of
For
times
sure.
salespeople don't listen. They just want
That's
to
right.
get on the phone, blah, 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 and pee
Yep.
all over themselves.
Yes.
So we talk about that a lot. But the one thing that we're failing at as an industry wide, and I know you would agree with me with this, Jason, is that our agents don't see the value in prospecting. They don't see the value in role playing, and they
Yeah.
don't see the value in scripts.
Right.
It's not the fun part of our industry,
That's right.
but it is fun once you start closing deals and when you
Yes, it
control
is.
your own destiny, right? Because we tell our agents all the time, you have the opportunity to control how much business you do.
That's
So
right.
would you want it in your hands or do you want it in someone else's hands?
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. And I there's a piece of me that says it is hard, but I don't know. Today, I feel like I kind of feel like it's easier on the relationship side, just because. I mean, let's face it. Back when we were doing it, was like a big deal if you had your picture on your business card.
Right,
You
right.
know, I mean, that was like next level. And so you were really blindly calling people, and they had no idea, who's Jason Bramlett, who's Lonnie Bush. Well, now they do, because we've got TV, radio, social media, the billboards, and to some degree, I feel like that relationship we're not a total stranger anymore like we were back in the day. I used the old crisscross directory where you just called down the street, and, and and obviously it was home landlines, right there. That was it. You got people's
Yeah.
home phone numbers, and so you actually were really interrupting their life because you were probably catching them at dinner most of the time.
You know what's interesting is, and you hear this excuse a lot with agents on scripts is I don't want to be scripted, right?
Right.
Well, listen, here's a script that I started with in 1997. Hey, this is Lonnie Bush with Lonnie Bush Real Estate. We just sold a house around the corner, and we know that when one sells, usually a couple more sell behind it. So I was wondering, who do you know that's thinking about moving in the neighborhood right now? Now, does that sound scripted?
Right. No, it sounds conversational.
And that's the same script I used. And I mean, I still remember it today because I did it so much. And I think it's, again, it also comes down to the excuses of,
Yeah.
it's like I remember going to a Mike Ferry retreat like in 98, and I went up to him and talked to him. And I said, Mike, I said, because if you ever saw some of his scripts, they were rough around the edges, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I
Yeah.
mean, they were downright jagged, to be honest with you. But I said, Mike, I said, this something, whatever it was in the script, I said, can I get around that? Can I say something else? He goes, why? It works. Why are you going to change something that works? And I still use that to this day when I talk to my agents about some of the things that we've got in our scripts. I'm like, why? It works. So why would you want to change it? We need to get uncomfortable, and they don't want to get uncomfortable sometimes with some of those questions.
No, and I think that's it. I mean, to me, scripts are, a script is only uncomfortable to me when you don't know it and you're reading it. And then it sounds very scripted. But
Right.
after you've done it several thousands of times, again, it's just a conversation. And people want to be led. People, the consumer, the agent, but people want to be led. And it's the old saying, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the great thing about a script. If you think about a script, to me, it's like a recipe. I was a chef prior to real estate. And a good script is like a good recipe. You're going to get to the outcome, whether the dish, the whatever cuisine you're making, but the script is the same way. And knowing where to take people. And like I said, most people want to be led. I don't know. I'm kind of like you. I'm a diehard. I want to have a plan. I want to have a recipe for success.
And we've gotten away from the old way because, again, we have to adapt, right? We have to adapt to the market, to what people are doing. And because there's so much competition out there, back in the day, Jason, prospecting was, for me, I did a ton of business from prospecting because nobody was prospecting.
That's right.
I was one of the few people that was like, okay, well, this is the way you make money. That was how I was taught.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, people are prospecting, but they're not prospecting with purpose. They're prospecting to say, oh, well, I got to get on the phone. My boss or my broker said I got to call people, but they're not prospecting with a purpose and trying to get a deal. Every lead that comes to an agent, that agent should see dollar signs, right?
Yes.
They should say, look, man, that's $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 that I can make off this deal. I'm going to ask for that appointment 3 times, right? Sometimes they don't ask for the appointment at all.
That's right.
And that's the sad part of the whole thing.
Yes.
I was training with my listing agents the other day, and one of my listing agents said, can we role play something I just had? And I did. And at the end of it, I said, how many times did I ask for the appointment? He said 3 times. And they hit me hard. Like, they kept saying, no.
Sure.
We know that that's going to happen. But my point was to them, I asked for the appointment 3 times. I kept asking for the appointment in a non-abrasive way. Great. That sounds awesome. So when's a good time for us to get together so I can share with you what we can do for you to get your home sold for top dollar? It's amazing. And I don't know if you are the same boat as I am, but I've been running a team I've been in the business for 25 years. I've been running a team for probably 22 of those years. And in 22 years, I've said the same thing at every meeting. Prospect and follow up, right?
Yeah.
And that at the end of the year, when agents have their end of the year with us business plan, a lot of times they say that's where they're falling short. Yeah. It's never going to be easy because it's hard. It's hard to stay focused. It's hard to say I'm committed to 2 to 3 hours a day to do this.
That's right.
But I remember, and I'm sure you did too, when I first started in the industry, I did 3 to 4 hours every day. I back then I didn't even use a cell phone yet. I had a pager, and I put my pager on off, and I told the front desk, let anybody know I have appointments until 11. And I would be on the phone from 7:30 to 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock every day. And I did it with a purpose, 25 contacts every day. I needed to make 25 contacts every day. And back then they used to say if you made however many contacts you would make in a day, in a 5-day week, would equate how many transactions you would do for prospecting. And in some cases, it was even more.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, and again, that's a formula. I mean, it's predictable business and you are in control.
Yes.
And as opposed to, I mean, and we, you know, obviously we both utilize, TV, radio, billboards, but to me that's enhancement,
Yep.
right? That's not our 100% go-to leading edge. To me, that makes it easier. That branding makes it easier for the team, for the agents to be able to have, recognition and get in commonality with people.
Sure. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, to me, because right now, I mean, if they just came out tomorrow in North Carolina and said, okay, all TV, radio, and billboard advertising for real estate is illegal, can't do it anymore.
Right.
I'm fine because
Right.
I know how to pick up a phone,
Yep.
and texting, which drives me nuts. But texting, guys, is not prospecting. I heard somebody say this. Text to me is a notification. It's not a conversation.
Right.
And I that stuck with me, and I'm like, that's a really good thing. And setting that expectation of, hey, if you text me, you're just notifying me that we need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So we got some scripts, but here's another mistake I see people make. They get a script and then they go practice on their prospects, right?
Yeah.
And the best people, the best, it's the iron sharpening iron. Grab a buddy, get somebody in the office and pair up with them, and you both win and you trade off role playing out those scripts. I know you guys do a tremendous amount of role play. Are you guys early morning role play, or you do it at different times of the day, or how's that work for you?
So we do it on our huddle, and then we also our new agents have 90 days of role play daily,
Okay.
from 11 to I want to say 11:30. So we're putting that hoping that they can create that habit. But as well as I do, they get knocked off. They start
Yeah,
having a few deals, a little bit of success, and then all of a sudden they're not following up the way they need to.
that's right.
Um, the greatest thing about being on a team, I think, is the accountability that you can get. And I think
Yeah.
as this market shifts, because we're going to see a shift, you're
Yes.
going to see guys like you and I, our accountability meter is going to go up, right? We're going to be
Yeah.
like, okay, now, I told my agents the other day, I said, listen, it's been raining buyers for 5 years. Just
Yeah.
raining. It's not hard to get a buyer.
That's right.
Last year and a half, it's been hard to get a buyer under contract.
Yep.
However, I tell them I look at both sides of things and say, look, so it used to be easy to get a buyer. Now it's going to be a little bit harder to get a buyer, and you got to get back to some of the basics. But
Mm-hmm.
the good news is you don't have to worry about writing 50 offers to get that buyer a house, because
That's
there's
right.
going to be more inventory. Inventory is going to pick up. We both know that.
Yes.
Will it pick up to the level of what we'd like to see over the next year? I mean, maybe not, but it's going to pick up over what it's been the last 9 months. It has to. You know what I mean?
I agree. That's funny. We were having a conversation with the buyer team, and I said, you guys, we gotta start thinking different. I need to get you all prepared because, right now you're like, okay, I'm going to go show one house, I'm going to write an offer, hopefully get it. But, remember back in like 08, 9, and 10 is like, there was 120 of every floor plan. It was like, we had to put in stop measures. Like, how do we keep, we got to stop this train because you could go look at houses forever. I mean,
Yeah.
forever, And so, and some of these new agents, they don't know they don't have no clue. They have no clue.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you can go out and show 10 houses in most markets in America, that's pretty amazing because there's like in our market, there's not 10 of any kind of house for sale at all.
What's interesting is that leads us into how to handle the objections of the listing right now with this market changing. One of the things I did yesterday, and I don't sell a lot of houses. I mean, this is my first house I think this year I've sold, but it was a friend that I sold 15 years ago, high price point. I think it was five something, and it was going to, I knew it would be an easy sell because, it's a great market, great neighborhood, no inventory. Well, yesterday the conversation was, on the price, and the price, we had to get it to the right price, and it wasn't necessarily priced right in the beginning, but the mentality of, well, every other house in the neighborhood's been selling in a week, and they're all selling for above list. And I said, listen, I get it. That's where the market's been.
Yeah.
But lately, sellers are getting smart enough and savvy enough, and they're listening and they're watching and their TV and they're listening to the news. And
Yeah.
my seller was like, "Look, what are you seeing? I mean, every week that goes by, is creating more risk for us." And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Think of it like this: the buyer that just brought us an offer today locked their rate probably 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So new buyers coming into the market are now looking at today's on rates.
Yes.
So what is that going to do to your bottom line? Because
Right.
these guys can't afford, or the house now that you had 9 months ago, that house cost $800 less a month.
Right.
So
A
these are
month.
the way that we need to be handling these situations, because you know as well as I do, and we've both been in all kinds of markets, that it takes about 3 to 4 months for people to get out of that market mindset that was
Yes.
past,
That's right.
right?
Yes, it does. And yeah, I've been preaching October. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. End of September, October, people are going to be like, "Oh wow, well this is different than what I was expecting." Actually, one of my listing agents came to me. He's like, "Hey man, we really need to do some training on what do you say to an owner when their house is on the market for 6 days, because all his listings have sold like in a day with 15 plus offers." And he's like, what am I going to do when it goes a week? And what's that conversation? I said, "Oh yeah, we'll get into that." I said, "What are you going to do when it goes 9 months?" Think about an 08, 9. I mean, we had an average days on the market, like 280 average days on the market in
Wow.
in our area. I mean, Charlotte, North Carolina in '09 was like 500 plus days average on the
Wow.
market,
I mean, we've been fortunate because I'm in a transient community with the military. I mean, probably the worst I've ever seen is maybe 4.5 months. And that was in the beginning, in the late 90s. I think we're 3 to 4 months is about where we were probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you know what, man? I don't mind that, Jason.
No.
You and I both know that we will excel in that market because we're already positioned for it. We've got the team
Yes.
prepared. We've got all the systems in place. And I tell my team that I'm like, look, this train only goes in one direction, and that's up, right?
Right.
We don't go backwards. We don't go sideways. We don't stay the same. We're going up.
Right.
Now we have to be reactive, right? And proactive,
Yes.
not necessarily just reactive, but proactive, because it is shifting, and
Yeah.
we have to have conversations about the objections that are coming our way, right? You're
Yep.
not seeing as many objections about commission. You won't see, right?
That's
The
right.
objection of, well, so and so said they do it for 4.5%, because we've been fighting that battle,
That's
right?
right.
Everybody's getting paid less. So I think it's also looking at, and I know we've talked a lot about this market, but I think it's really, there's good and bad with all these markets. And I
That's
think
right.
if you focus on the good in whatever market that you're in, you will
Yep.
excel. If you focus on the bad, you won't,
That's
right?
right.
Like we had agents on our team that were struggling to sell houses this past year because they were focusing on, I don't want to go write 20 contracts for one offer. They didn't want the grind,
Yeah.
right? They didn't
Right.
want that grind of having to do that. And a couple of them came to me and said, "Man, I don't know, man. I just hate this market. Everything I write, it's getting, whatever." And I said, you can't look at it like that. You got to look at the positive side of it. You got 5 buyers in the car. You
Right.
know, how can you
Yeah.
get these guys under contract? And buyers
Right.
buyers were ready to go. They weren't wishy-washy. They weren't like, well, maybe I want this. They were like, no, write it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you got to take the good and the bad.
That's right. That's right. No, it is definitely it's gonna be interesting. I think it will definitely it's definitely gonna thin the herd. We're gonna see some agents with new careers, no question about it. But for the ones that dig in and have that self accountability, self discipline, and take the time. You mentioned cassette tape. Actually at our team meeting today, I was talking about that in the '90s. I recorded myself, and I had a cassette tape, and I listened to me because I was in the car 4, 5, 6 hours a day, going from listing appointment to listing appointment. But that that was my university on wheels. And I listened to Mike Ferry and all those guys. And man, if you just put in the time, the effort, and the energy, you're not going to worry about a market shift. You're just not. You're going to insulate yourself. And the other thing too is when you walk around with that type of confidence, you're a light, and people are attracted to that. Not only agents are attracted to that, but so are owners and so are buyers. They want a person with confidence. They want someone that's going to lead them to buying the next house, downsizing, whatever they're doing. But the only way that you can do that and have that confidence is to get in there and do the role play, learn the scripts. And, as like we said, they're not scripts, they're conversation pieces.
Right.
And it's only a script in the beginning. And yeah, scripting is rough in the beginning because you don't know it. You don't have it memorized yet. That's where that repetition comes in. So that is good stuff.
The first time I ever got on the phone, I was shaking.
Right.
I mean, everybody thinks that I just must have got on the phone and just crushed it right out of the gate because of my personality. I'm a little outgoing, all that. No, I was shaking like a leaf. And I went on and I got an appointment and I drove an hour away. I was all excited, telling everybody in the office I set an appointment, expired.
Right.
I got all the way there to find out the lady wasn't going to sell for 9 months. So, but it was a valuable lesson. I never went out to another listing without saying, if I sell your home in the next 60 days, is that going to be a problem for you? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. You learn those things. And that's one thing, that's one of our best practices. I always tell the agents, like, write your objections down because sometimes there's repetitiveness to that. And if you keep stumbling over that same objection, then we just need to practice. Where are you off track? A lot of times it's just they omit it. They omit the scripting. They omit the question. Like, oh, I should probably ask this lady if she wants to sell now or in 9 months, right? Because what you got to do is you got to do that twice. You got to do that drive twice, right?
Yeah. You know what though, man? Like you said, recording and listening to yourself. Like I'll listen to a role play, and it'd be like, so who have you been pre-qualified with? Or are you working with any agents? Well, yeah. Oh, okay. And it's like everything shuts down versus, okay, great. Are you currently committed to that agent? Well, what's that mean?
Yeah.
Well, that just means that you signed something saying that you and that agent are going to work together exclusively. Oh, no. I haven't signed anything like that. Right. Oh, great.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Versus, oh,
yeah.
And then they shut down and it's like, let it go, move on.
Yeah. And typically what that person really probably told you, if you went further in the conversation, it's like, we went to an open house. Or we know an agent. Well, everybody knows an agent, right?
Right.
And it's taking that conversation, down the road and digging in. Because, I think depending on how you frame the question is also going to determine how it's answered, right? And so that's another reason that scripts are so valuable, because
it's how you say what you say.
It is 100%.
One of the things, and I know you're probably running out of time, but I wanted to share this with you. I was talking to you about this off the air, where with our listing team, the greatest question that I've found to ask when handling any objection related to price or anything for that matter is, what's most important to you?
Yeah.
It's all, well, I want to get 580. I can appreciate that. What's most important to you about that? Well, I just need to make the most money. Well, here's why and I'm ad-libbing now. Here's why 580 is not going to net you the most money.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is we're going to sit out there. We're not going to sell. Then you're going to be taking bad offers. People are going to want to know what's wrong with it. So we tell our listing agents all the time, that's the first question. Well, I want to take, I'd like you to, I don't want to pay 6%. Well, what's most important to you?
Right.
What's netting the most money? Great. Well, you saw all that I did. Well, I can only do that if I have that 6% to be able to do that with.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So for us, I've simplified it with the listing team. It's all about what's most important to you.
Yeah.
And you can even use that with a buyer, because then, Jason, we get to the pain, right? With listings, the pain is always usually price, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's time, but very, very seldom is anybody ever saying anything other than, I want to make top dollar. right? Well, your house is beat up and you're not going to make top dollar at that price. But if we price it right, you're probably going to get top dollar for this condition, right?
Yes.
Buyers, same way. What's most important to you? Well, I want 4 bedrooms. Great. I think we get out of finding out what's the pain.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And we just like, well, okay, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Okay, great. And you start showing them houses, and then you have to learn through error and time what really was the pain. When you could have asked and you could have asked and you could have asked to figure out what that was in the beginning, and eliminated a lot of time that's wasted.
Absolutely. And that is, I mean, that's where those scripts are so valuable. I mean, here's our belief. You can do it right first, or you're going to end up doing it twice at a minimum, right? And so, and these, I mean, and that's where the practice, and that's to me, this is the hugest benefit of being on a team. It's getting in front of people that are 10, 20, 15 years ahead of you, that have been through cycles, that have been, that know the scripting backwards and forward. We know the objections. The product hasn't changed. It's still houses, right? And it's still people. It's still people involved. And yeah, you are so right. And just taking the time to, and the great thing about social media and everything that's going on, there are actually, like, you can go to Facebook and just type in real estate role play groups. There's like 50. And you can just ask to be invited in, and they role play all different times of the day, and from all over the place. And so there's really no excuse. Maybe you don't have a buddy at your office or whatever. I mean, I used to role play with my golden retriever. I would hold a tennis ball, and if I wanted Maggie to agree with me, I'd go this way and she'd say yes, or I'd go this way and she'd say no. She'd follow the ball, right? I mean, I would just role play. Or, well, we all have about 5 or 6 different personalities rolling around in our head, right? Just pick one, just pick your crazy, self and role play it out. But I can't tell you that's the number one thing I think as an industry that we definitely need to work on. But it also, it takes you out of amateur real estate agent to professional. And that's what the community is screaming for, is where are the professional real estate agents? And I think you'll make more money, you'll control your destination, and you will serve your buyer and owner clients much, much better, for sure. So, my man, that was great stuff. I greatly appreciate your time.
Yeah,
if you like the content, guys, you know the deal. Subscribe, comment, disagree, agree, whatever you want to do. We just give us some feedback. But you're listening to Real Estate Speed School. We'll be back here next week. Everybody make it a phenomenal day, and we'll catch you next